It's a Xenolink data view analysis for Josh Lawrence. This is acceleration from dead stop. First graph that we're looking at is the speed or acceleration of the center of mass over the first three steps. You have the initial steps or push off, the second step, which is really the real first gate cycle, and then the third, you have touchdown or contact with the ice, mid-stance where the foot is essentially below the center of mass or directly underneath the torso, and then you've got your toe off or skate off where the skate's actually pushing off the ice and being swung through. So you've got those three primary events in the gate cycle itself. What we look for is an acceleration through toe off or from mid-stance back. That's your propulsion phase. And then you're going to get a bit of a lull through the mid-stance phase of the next leg, and then another acceleration and a bit of a lull and another acceleration. The acceleration rate is actually pretty decent. Top end speed's a little on the low side. And the time taking. So the pattern itself is pretty good, but the speed and acceleration is on the low side. So let's take a look at torso rotation before we look at then propulsion. Torso rotation is the relationship of the pelvic rotation relative to the upper thoracic rotation. What ends up happening is as the pelvis rotates one way, the upper torso rotates the other way, and it creates a preload on the musculature that will allow a dynamic swing through. So it allows the skater to push against the ice, but then dramatically and very quickly pull that skate forward to reset it to be used for propulsion again. It's a very important part of maintaining forward speed and then creating another burst of acceleration. What we see here is typically we like to see the pelvis moving equal and opposite in a sinusoidal type of pattern, creating a good counter torque. You see the maximum stretch occurring around the toe off or the push off scenario. In this case, event. In this case, what we have is fairly lopsided, asymmetric kind of movement. A lot of very poor movement as we we start on the left side, as we move into the right side to push. There's a really poor setup for that. A little bit better as we move back to the left side, but definitely issues with respect to our counter torque. With respect to propulsion, both the push and the pull, what we have here is extension speeds, knee and hip, and then how we go into flexion. So what we see is the first leg, which is the left leg, blue being left, is reaching its peak propulsion at about frame 120, just a little after 120, and we get the hip at the same time, which is good. We need both to occur simultaneously. Knee extension speed's a little on the low side, as is hip extension speed, but that's okay for the initial push. It may be a little bit lower. We'd like to see it higher, but the timing is relatively reasonable. We do see, though, that the knee goes into flexion late and doesn't contribute as effectively to the continued acceleration of the center of mass, nor does it prepare for its next phase of propulsion very well. When we look at the right side, then, we see more limited extension speed, which is problematic, and also very limited hip extension speed, and they occur a little bit off. You get this hip extension around 180. You get your knee extension occurring about 185, and so we've got speed deficits, we've got timing deficits, and also again a little late to initiate that swing through or that pull out. We've got left side then follow extension. We've got at about 255, and we've got the hip occurring at just about 250. So again, off on the timing. Speeds are a little bit better on the left side, but still not real great. And then again, late initiation of swing through. So we've got both magnitude issues as well as timing issues, and also coordination issues relative to extension and swing through or coordination, or swing through or flexion, initiation of flexion. Real quick, we'll take a look at a range of motion to see if we see any gross functional deficits. We definitely see a little bit of deficit maybe on a right side extension, but generally fairly symmetric as we move through the space, especially with respect to flexion. And when we look at our hip flexion extension, we see, again, a little bit of deficit on the right side with respect to extension. So we may have some limitation on the right side with respect to extension, and that can be combination of tight hip flexors, external rotators. We could have some lower back stability issues, pelvic rotational issues, all kind of contributing to that. You may even see some hamstring tightness or calf, ankle issues that are restricting movement on extension on the right side. So the focus will be improving counter torque in the torso, improving torso stability as well as dynamic, and then improving extension timing and speed as well as coordination between extension and flexion, with primary emphasis being a little bit more towards the right side, which seemed to be more deficit.